Good morning/afternoon/evening, everyone. Today I want to talk about a major event in the digital world, a large-scale outage at AWS, which knocked out many popular apps and services around the world. We'll cover what happened, why it mattered, how it unfolded, and what we can learn from it. On Monday, October 20th, 2025, AWS experienced a significant outage in one of its major cloud regions, US East 1, in Northern Virginia. Because AWS is the backbone for many apps and websites, this failure rippled across the internet. For example, Snapchat users found they could not log in or upload photos. Venmo payment services had problems for many users. Ring doorbell and security camera systems, owned by Amazon, stopped sending alerts or video streams. Other services like Slack, Zoom, Duolingo, Fortnite, banks in the UK and many more were also affected. Simply put, because many services rely on AWS cloud infrastructure, when one of its major hubs goes down, many other systems go down with it. Why does this matter? There are three big reasons. Scale of impact: this wasn't just one app overnight. Reports indicated thousands of companies, millions of users, across dozens of services were disrupted. For example, in the UK alone, banks, tax services and other critical infrastructure were hit. Dependence on few cloud providers: many apps and websites use one of a few large cloud providers like AWS, Microsoft Corporation Azure, Google LLC Cloud. When one goes down, the effect is broad. Experts say this outage is a reminder of how concentrated the internet's infrastructure is. Everyday life gets affected. It's not just tech companies. It's your doorbell, your payment app, your game, your classroom app. When those stop working, it shows how embedded cloud services are in daily life. Even though the outage lasted only a few hours, for some people it meant missing payments, missing alerts, or losing connectivity. That matters. Let's walk through how the outage happened, in simple terms. Early hours: the problem began in the US East 1 region of AWS, around 2 a.m. Central Time, 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Root cause: AWS reported that the issue was related to a DNS, domain name system, failure or issue in the internal subsystem that monitors network load balancers for EC2, its virtual servers. DNS is very basic infrastructure. It translates website/app names into addresses computers use to find them. If DNS fails, your device doesn't know where to reach. Ripple effect: because many services sit on AWS infrastructure, the DNS/network load balancer failure meant many apps couldn't work properly. Some apps wouldn't load, login would fail, streaming would stop, payments wouldn't process. For example, Venmo had login failures. Ring's video feed didn't reach users. Recovery begins: AWS posted updates. They had identified the issue, taken mitigation steps, and by around 6 a.m. Central Time said the main underlying DNS issue had been fully mitigated. Still some lingering effects. Even though the major fault was addressed, some services still had delays, queued requests, or needed time to catch up. AWS said some API or server launch features were still being throttled. What it looked like for users: here are examples of what people experienced. Opened their payment app and couldn't log in, or transactions were delayed. Tried to view camera feed from Ring and got no response or device offline errors. Opened Snapchat and got stuck at login or experienced error messages. Went to their educational portal, like Duolingo or Canvas, and could not access lessons or assignments. For some bank or government services, access was blocked, meaning people couldn't make payments or check details. Consequences: short and longer term. Short-term consequences: frustration for users, not being able to use apps they rely on. For businesses, operations were disrupted, transactions delayed, possibly revenue lost. For essential services, some banks or governments having disruptions is unsettling because these are services we expect to always work. Longer-term consequences: reassessment of risk. Companies will look at how reliant they are on single cloud providers or single regions of a cloud provider. possibly regulation and oversight. As one report noted, in the UK the government asked questions about whether AWS should be designated a critical third party for financial services because its failure can impact banks. For users, raises awareness that behind the apps we use, there are complex systems that if they fail, the apps fail. Redundancy matters for companies. Don't put everything in one location/one cloud region. Spread out. If one cloud region fails, you still have backup. Don't assume always on. Users often assume the app will always work. This shows reality. Infrastructure can fail. Having offline alternatives, or knowing what to do if an app fails, matters. Cloud providers equals critical infrastructure. Cloud services are not just hosting servers anymore, they are the backbone of many industries. Their failure means more than just an app crash. It can affect payments, security, etc. Monitor and communicate for companies. During outages, clear communication with users helps. For users, understanding what's happening can reduce frustration, e.g., it's not just me, the service is down globally. Prepare for the unexpected. Outages will happen. It's not when, but when they will. Businesses should run drills, design for failure, have backup plans. Users can think about backup payment methods, alternate apps, etc. Why it happens, technical angle, simply explained. Let's give a simple explanation of why such a big outage can happen. Think of the internet like a city. Apps and websites are buildings, and cloud providers are the utility companies supplying water, electricity, plumbing. AWS provides utility services for vast numbers of apps, storing data, running servers, managing networking. In this case, the plumbing that maps names, like Snapchat.com, to the physical addresses of servers, IP addresses, had a fault, DNS subsystem. Even if the servers are fine, if you can't find them, the service fails. That's what happened. Because AWS is so big and so many apps rely on it, when that mapping system failed in one region, lots of buildings went offline simultaneously. Here's what to keep an eye on following this event. AWS investigations. We'll likely see a full post-mortem, after-action report from AWS explaining exactly what went wrong and what they'll do to prevent next time. Changes by companies. Many companies may switch to multi-cloud or multi-region strategies, e.g., also use Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud as backup. Regulatory responses. Because the outage affected not only entertainment apps but also financial and government services, we may see more regulatory scrutiny or requirements for cloud providers. User behavior. Will people have more backup plans? Will there be more awareness of cloud risk? Technical community. This outage may trigger more discussion about decentralization of infrastructure. As one expert quoted, when a major cloud provider sneezes, the internet catches a cold. In summary, the AWS outage on October 20, 2025 was a wake-up call. It showed how deeply interconnected our digital world is, and how one large infrastructure failure can ripple across everything from social apps to payments to home security. But the good news is also that the outage was resolved relatively quickly and efficiently. AWS says the main problem is fully mitigated. For users, if your app was down, know you weren't alone. For businesses, this is a moment to review your strategy. And for all of us, remember that behind the apps we rely on are complex systems, and sometimes those systems pause. Thank you for listening/reading. I'm happy to take any questions or discuss what this means for a specific app, company, or region. Please subscribe to the channel.